All right, I am wrapping up with the review of a SwampFox Arrowhead 1-10x24 low power variable. This scope does not have side focus like most LPVOs. They don't. So some of the things you'll see are a little bit blurry, some are not. But overall it's a very decent low power variable. The video is mostly intended to show you the reticle. The scope is currently mounted on a tripod, so there are no guns pointed at anyone. Okay, I'm looking out of the door of my house. There's some neighbors' houses, and the mountain you see behind is one of the sandias. The roof of the house you see in the picture is comparatively close. I think it is about 40-50 yards away. Early Arrowhead scopes, I believe, had a 50-yard parallax setting. I think newer ones have a 100-yard parallax setting, but in this case it kind of helps us because you see that the roof tiles had reasonable focus. The scope is for now MOA turrets and MOA reticle only. The reticle is accurate on 10 power. To make it accurate on 10 power, the reticle looks comparatively big on low power, which in this case helps. Like most low power variable scopes in this price range, the illumination is not super bright. It's not bad. This is the brightest, I think, unless the reticle died. Illumination died maybe. Regardless, it's not super bright, but the reticle is nice and visible, so there are no real complaints there. It's a simple reticle. There's a broken kind of horseshoe and a little bit of a meal scale. The only real complaint really I have of the reticle is that with this kind of a scope and 10 power, I might be shooting comparatively far back, and the turrets are actually fairly decent. They're pop-up locking turrets that they actually track all right. I'm gonna put the microphone by the turret so you can hear it. Those are the elevation turrets. They're slightly mushy, but not much. The feel is, it's not gonna make me give up my tangent data, but it's perfectly respectable and works quite decently. They're easy to grab, they're easy to lock, they're easy to unlock. That was quite nice, right? So if I were to shoot fairly far away and dial for elevation, I wouldn't mind holding for wind. If you're doing that, it would not hurt to have a little bit some windage holes closer to the primary center dot. Yeah, it can be a controversial topic because it does clutter up the side picture a little bit, but no 1-10 with a large horseshoe like that, I'd probably add something. I mean, as it is, I didn't measure it out exactly, but we're probably plus minus about 8 to 10 MOA to the left and right of a primary aiming point. There's just empty space. So if you need to hold a little bit of wind, that's a weakness. Now, is it a deal breaker? No, but it is a little bit of a weakness. Right now, the scope sits on 1 power. So if you look at the lines of the house, the size of the windows, you see a little bit outside the view of the scope and inside the view of the scope. It is true 1 power. And as we go up in magnification, this is the second focal plane scope, so the reticle will look the same. The image will change. We're now at about 2.5, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, this is 10 power. You have a little bit of a view. At 10 power, obviously the depth of field gets shallower, but it's not bad at all. It's actually quite respectable in my opinion. And the eyepiece is pretty well designed, even with the camera behind it, which is not the simplest setup to. So I can comfortably set it up so that the eyepiece creates a fairly small black ring around the image. And that's kind of what it looks like to your eye as well. So it's not bad at all. I'm really quite happy with this. Where does this scope stack up compared to the competition? Honestly, in the 500-ish range, I don't know if there is anything better if you want a fairly large magnification range. What basically happens is that in a 600-ish range, there are some really nice scopes like this Tiny P4XI, but with very bright reticle and all that, but that's a 1-4x24, right? So if you're willing to compromise on the magnification range, I mean, Steiner is a better scope. However, if you need something with a little more flexibility and with a longer, larger magnification range, the options are not that many. There are the various 1-6 and 1-8 Chinese scopes. This one's also from China. They are marketed under Vortex Strike Eagle, various primary arms scopes and all that. And I think the Arrowhead is better than those, at least better than the ones I have seen. The new ones come out all the time, and I think this one is better. Atibel has a 1-10 scope. I've tested the front focal plane, didn't like it, and I've briefly seen the second focal plane, but not too much. But I think this is a better scope than the Atibel. So, aside from that, I don't think the Arrowhead has all that much direct competition. And honestly, to have a serious step up over this from the scopes that I've seen, you need to get up to $900 to $1,000 range. For example, I have a Delta Striker 1-6, and while it doesn't give you the same magnification range, 1-6 is quite good, and that scope's definitely better than the SwampFox. But it's about $1,000, a little bit under. I think they're gonna sell it at around $950, $980, something like that. $990, I don't remember, but it's in high 900s, I think. And it's a notably better scope, but it's also a notably more expensive scope. Looking at what's available under 800, nothing really comes to mind that's obviously better than this one, right? So SwampFox has, I think they have their niche. This is quite decent. Like I said, exposed turrets that lock, comes with a cattail, the reticle is illuminated. The reticle itself is reasonably intelligently done. I would like to see a milliradian version. I'm a milliradian guy. I'd like to see slightly more clever reticle design from a standpoint of being able to hold for wind. But even as is, I've spent some time shooting with it. I used it on my Palmetto KS-47 and a few other guns, and it worked. I have no complaints. It was easy to get behind. It looked okay, At a shooting range, I had it next to the Vortex Razor Gen 3 1-10. Razor is a better scope, much better scope, but it's $2,000. This thing is what, 500, 600, somewhere there. So for the money, you could do much worse than this, right? Anyhow, I'll zoom through magnification range a couple more times so you have something to see. I'm going back down. This is 6 power. 6 power is really respectable, decent depth of field. You have normal color. It's quite nice. And as you continue to zoom out, for example, I do a lot of my offhand shooting about 2.5 to 3 power. Yeah, the camera is slightly misaligned, so you're starting to see more shading on the sides. And it's not bad. This is 1 power. I do a lot of offhand shooting like this. It gives me a good measure of stability. The reticle is easy to see. I'm not seeing any serious point of aim shift because of parallax, anything like that. There are some scopes, some second focal plane scopes that shift their point of aim when you zoom in and out. So let's see, I'm going to try to lock the dot on something I can see fairly well, and then zoom through the magnification range and see how it does. All right, so I'm right there on the edge. I am on 10 power now. This tripod is a little bit wobbly, so bear with me. And as I go to 1 power, I'll adjust the reticle focus a little bit. The dot is about there. I'm going to go back up in magnification, and you can see that the point of aim doesn't really shift. There's a little bit of a wobble because I'm touching the tripod. But by and large, the scope effectively stays zeroed. Not bad. I can work with this right there. I should have a sturdier tripod to do this test, but it's, you know, when I did some shooting, I shot some groups on different magnifications, and I did not really see any sort of significant point of aim shift. So overall, I'm happy with the scope. I think SwampFox will do quite well with it. So far, they seem to be holding up, but you know, the company being fairly new, the scope being fairly new, I would not mind seeing how it holds up further out in terms of reliability and things like that. And then time will tell. Okay, let's look at something green. We are on 10 power. Let's zoom out. Right. And zoom in. And here we go. Okay. It's not bad. I like this scope. Anyhow, if you have questions, you know where to find me. Overall, I like the SwampFox products I've seen to date, so this is very respectable, and for the money looks to be quite good. I hope they continue to do well listening to the customers. But time will tell. I'll keep track of how these scopes do, and if I find any statistically significant negative information, I'll do a follow-up. Thank you for watching. If you have questions, just put something in the comments below.